I'm still pinching myself that I had the privilege and the chance to bring Dune to the screen. It was the biggest challenge of my life because it's very dangerous to tackle your childhood's dream. I'm pretty proud, and there's a lot of moments that are very close to the images I had in mind when I read the book as a kid. Yeah, it's very moving for me.
It was a dream to return to the world of Dune. I'd never gotten a return to a project before. So this was not only returning to castmates that I had a beautiful working experience with the first time, it was also getting to see characters expand, like Chani, getting to work with new, super talented actors like Austin Butler, Florence Pugh I'd done a film with before. So this was an absolute dream come true. Getting to see Denis bring his full vision to life. Obviously when he wrote the first movie, he had written them together with the idea of doing 2 parts. So the first film was a litmus test. It was sort of a thesis on getting the right to do a second movie.
I've been, wishing and dreaming and thinking about what it would be like, and I mean, it absolutely surpasses any kind of dream I could have ever had. It's, being on these sets with these incredibly talented people, and that's, in every department. I'm in awe. I mean, it's like again, landing on Arrakis. It's a real place, it feels like.
When I found out that we'd literally pick up from where we ended, that for me was the ultimate continuation. I sometimes find it hard when time has passed because you always wonder what has happened to characters, but here the audience and us as characters and as actors, we get to actually pick up from where we ended and just continue the arc of the character, which is wonderful. So we literally start at the end, at the beginning.
It's the same book, and that's what people get confused by. So this is another book. No, and I think it's the smartest thing that Denis did was say, let's break this up, and not overwhelm people with too much information. And it allows for quiet, and it allows for, I don't know, for lack of a better word, spiritual kind of growth that he's going through, that Paul's going through.
He managed to do some magic tricks. The internal monologue I was talking about that is so uncinematic. He managed to figure out how to go and give you that side of the story without doing voiceover and stuff like that. He is an amazing filmmaker. He's an amazing. So he made it into a film as opposed to a talking book.
But at this point, you don't know. You don't know what's happened. You don't know who's still alive. You don't know who died in the first one, whether it's me, whether it's everybody. So you get these people, recoalescing and having these incredible emotional reactions to each other. And then ultimately, I think the first half was more of an introductory story, whereas I think this is about somebody truly growing into maturity.
What a cast. No, what's cool is when you see Javier Bardem and Josh Brolin and Stellan Skarsgård giddy about returning to a role, and I think all those guys, definitely those guys, have been a part of hugely successful franchises, sequels like Pirates of the Caribbean and Avengers. So they were giddy, and they're like little kids in a candy store, and I have so many funny videos of Josh. I think I could put together a documentary.
When somebody's a good actor and they bring little subtleties, so like we were doing a scene and, all of us are subject to kind of being out of character at times, and then you're reminded that's what a good director's for, to go, like, what are you doing? Like, are you in Hawaii? Like, where are you? And then you go back into these idiosyncrasies that you developed before you started, and some work and some don't, and then you refine it with the director and all that. And Javier slows everything down. He did this it was a great character choice. And so we were doing the scene together, and he did it a couple of times, and I was like, oh, no, that's not Stilgar. And then there was a tweak, and then he went into this place, and it's just like listening to Hans's music. It's like, something just flows perfectly, and you're like, that's the perfect character for this guy. Like, nobody could play this better than him right now. Yeah, so he's great.
I mean, you love people and you appreciate their talent, but then when you get to know people and see that they don't take that for granted, or they don't hold it over anybody's head, they don't, their noses aren't in the air, they're just grounded, and they're just like good, just normal people, then you appreciate them even more. And I think You know, I don't know how it happened, but there seems to be a cast full of those people here.
It was quite possibly the most thrilling welcome to a world I think I've ever experienced and probably ever will experience. You know, when you watch all of the behind the scenes of those mega worlds, whether it's like Star Wars or even like James, but like any of those mega worlds that you're walking into, I've always seen the behind pictures and like seen all the costumes and seen all the designers at work as someone's about to walk onto set, and always wondered like, ooh, I wonder if they'll ever make those epics again. And then obviously Dune 1 came out, and it truly was and is an epic.
Austin Butler is extraordinary as Fade Ralph. I mean, really extraordinary. We did a cast Zoom in July or something, and he sounded like Stellan.
Denis had an image of Fade physically that he described to me. A lot of the reasons why and Fade's childhood and those sorts of things, those are the bits that Denis had. We had more conversations about and figuring out, why does Fade act the way he does. That led into finding Fade's voice and living with the Baron from a very young age and seeing this is the man who has power. This is in this brutal world where you're leading with fear rather than love. Who do you look up to, and who do you emulate? And that's where that came from.
Patrice, our production designer, did, I'm pretty sure he won an Oscar for the first one, and he matched, if not exceeded, his work here. Once more, the first movie felt a little bit like an experimental thesis on what could be brought to life in a second one, both by Patrice and Greg Fraser and Denis. And the sets were awe-inspiring.
The sets are so, like stunning. Like the detail, the attention to detail when you walk into the siege and you see all the inscriptions of the prophecy on the walls, it's like the time it takes to make something like this, I can't imagine. So I really think that my job then becomes easy. I step on set, I have this incredible costume that already changes your physicality, hair and makeup that does the same, and then I step into a set where I feel like I'm already on a different planet. So that does, half the job, and then I just gotta figure out how to speak in Chicopsa.
Denis has a fetish for fabric. I'd like that to go on a loop. Denis will put a headdress on and a dress, then a cape that has a hood, but there's something missing. And it's always an extra piece of fabric, and then he goes, no, there's something else. Then another piece of fabric, and then to kind of put a cherry on top, then it's a piece of fabric over your head. And as an actor, you don't want to cover your face, because then it can be a stunt person in there. But he always finds a moment to get some light in there. Greg just makes it worthwhile. But the f***ing fabrics, it is so heavy. And then you look at it and it looks otherworldly.
Well, he's a brilliant man, and he's got all this experience and technique. He really knows how to do it. There's a few times you work with directors and you feel that you're really in good hands. You feel that they've got it all, right here.
I think Denis Villeneuve is one kind of director that I don't know how to express it. I don't know, because I adore him, I love him, I am so grateful that he gave me the chance to be part of this adventure. And at the same time, he's creating this mastodontic world. But when you are shooting, actually, I don't know how he does it. You feel like you're doing an independent movie. The camera is there, the crew is there, but it's like, okay, let's get back to work, let's do the thing, let's just focus on this. Let's create together, let's experiment with things, let's try this, let's try that. And then you forget about the surroundings, the huge machinery that is behind this big movie. And you take the creative journey as an actor. And that's beautiful, because otherwise you would have thought, oh, is this going to be too much of a weight under my shoulders when they say action? No. He's there to make sure that you are doing your thing, which is create freely, with pleasure, with joy.
Every direction I get from Denis is very intimate. It's always like a one-on-one conversation. He's not yelling something from behind the camera. He always comes up and we have a conversation about what he wants. And a lot of times about why he wants it. And so that's what I love, is because he picks up on like just the smallest little details, things that I never would have thought of. And I love, and this is what's challenging for me, because I, as a performer, I want to get these directions and then I want to see if I can do it. I feel like he's making me a better actor, and I think it's because, again, it's all those little subtleties and the intimate conversations we have.
We spoke mostly about Jessica's transition into the Reverend Mother, because I was curious about how he saw the portrayal of a character who knows so much, yet has to have the subtleness of feeling vulnerable. Because I always find it interesting to dig into the vulnerability and the fact that she's constantly aware of her children. Something that I kept on saying to Denny is, the mantra that I sit on for her is, I know that my path is correct, but I can't push a prophecy. Everything that happens has to take its time. So it's a game of tolerance. So we spoke a lot about that, because I'm eager, as Rebecca, I'm eager to portray this, I'm eager to show this, I'm eager to. And he kept on saying, it's sitting back. It's letting everything unravel in front of you and then taking decisions based upon the way the prophecy is moving in front of you, if that makes sense.
Rebecca, I had a chance to have some scenes with her, which in the first one we didn't have, and we had. She's a fantastic actress, and also she's very funny.
I love her. I just think she was one of the best things in the first film. She blew me away when I saw the film. She was a standout for me. The coming to terms with myself at 45 was realizing that I was a film geek, and that it was okay to be a nerd. Do you know what I mean? And I do. I love cinema, and I love film, and I love storytelling, and I love, anything that revolves around the human condition and what challenges that and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I see in her. She's one of those actresses that she can tap into the idiosyncrasies that most of us can't really see, and then she exploits it through her acting. And she's a special actress, man.
I even wonder, how is Denny going to be able to explain this and, make this make sense to someone who may have never read the book or have only seen the first movie. But obviously, he did it with the first movie. I think he'll do it again. I think something that I felt when I watched the first film was I understood the books more somehow. I'd read the books and I still had questions and I still was confused about things. And then when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, that makes more sense now. He made it so clear and built this world. And so now I think he's just having fun. You can see he shows up every day. And I think no matter how tired he is or anybody else is, they just feel so, I think, reinvigorated by his energy, because he comes on set and he's so positive and he's so excited, because this is, I think, in many ways a childhood dream of his, and he's fulfilling that. And it's almost like watching a kid, there's such, and I think being able to tap into that, that creative essence that the child part of ourselves has is so special and so important for creatives. So it's really cool to watch him kind of tap into that and explore that and just feel so much joy. He'll finish a scene and he'll be so moved and excited, and I think we all feel the same.
I think everybody, when this room is full, when full of musicians and full of sound designers and full of, everything that, everything we're throwing at it, and Denise in this room, I know that everybody in this room would do anything for him, because in a funny way, I know he would do anything for us, so it's, you asked me what was it like to come from the first movie to the second movie. Well, it was coming back to the family.
It's a long shoot. It's a long film. It's a long shoot. And I think, for me, now that I'm getting older, for me it's clearer and clearer. It's about the captain of the boat, the energy that he brings, in this case, Denis Villeneuve. And he's such a wonderful, caring, beautifully creative and generous person that there is no room for any of the other things. So everybody's really here doing their best because they are happy. They feel protected. They feel welcome. They feel heard. They want to be part of it. They're excited. And you can tell that on the crew, behind the camera, and in front of the camera. And that makes the job way easier, way funnier, and way better. And I would say everybody has to do with it, but especially Denis Villeneuve.
We made so much effort to try to bring in all tiny details the subtlety of the desert and what it is to be walking in a desert. What the desert, that's the impact on the psyche, on your soul, of what it means to be in the desert, and even more what it is to ride a sandworm, and the exhilarating experience and the danger of such a means of transport. I mean, it's like something that you can only experience on the big screen in a theater. And I strongly believe that as humans, we need more than ever communal experience. We are meant to be together, and I think that cinema represents a beautiful moment to share stories together, and that's the most powerful way to enjoy cinema.
But I was very drawn to Christopher Walken, and I was drawn to Charlotte Rampling. I like stories. I would ask them questions, and it would be story time for me. And then gradually more people would come and sit, and it was like sort of fire night, bonfire night with storytelling. And all we needed was marshmallows on a stick.